You ever heard that saying, never meet your heroes? Well, I've never met Mother Teresa. It would have been awesome if I had. Some people have. Some people are still alive who have met her, remember her whenever they were younger. Of course, when she died in 97, I was only about 10 years old, but I do remember her being everywhere, all over the media, everywhere on TV, on magazine covers when you go through the grocery store. I've never met Mother Teresa, but I have met her postulator, Father Brian Kolodichuk. He was the postulator for her cause for canonization, meaning that he's the one who spearheaded the canonization process for her to become the saint that we recognize her as today. I'm sharing this because it's been about a week and a half now. I was in Washington, D.C. to deliver my paper at the Mother Teresa Institute. This was the second year in a row that I've done such a thing. And as I said to the crowd then, I don't know how they let me in here. It seems, maybe the second time around, it seems less of a mistake, less of an accident. But it did seem like, what am I doing here? Because as I told them there, I am not an expert on Mother Teresa. Why would I be asked to present at such a conference? And it was just by happenstance, just accident, that I got roped into this project. And I want to tell you a little bit how the conference went. We'll tell you a little bit about the project itself. So, like I said, there's a second year I've done this now. This is, I suppose, officially speaking, this is the first annual conference, although they've had activities the past 2 years. The Mother Teresa Center is housed in Washington, D.C., just across the street from the Catholic University of America, CUA. And the Mother Teresa Center is where all things Mother Teresa are housed, all the archives, they are responsible for everything down to the registered trademark on those blue bars. The Mother Teresa Institute, I suppose now I'm a founding member of it. I had no idea. I was unwittingly a founding member of it. Mother Teresa Institute is the academic arm of the Mother Teresa Center. That is what we've been, over the past couple of years, been trying to really get off the ground. Now, the first year they had meetings of any kind was the 25th anniversary of Mother Teresa's death. That was in 2022. And that was wonderful. I didn't know anything of it there. I was only invited last year, so I did not attend that one. But we had everybody. I'm just looking at this old schedule. We had everybody from the Archbishop of Baltimore, the Cardinal of Washington, D.C. We had missionaries of charities, priests, 3 of whom are either current or former superior generals of the Missionaries of Charity. We had George Weigel there giving the keynote, the biographer of St. John Paul II. Senior Vice President of Knights of Columbus was there, and even a former president of Ave Maria University, former politician, White House director of faith-based initiatives, and yeah. So it was very well attended and very big production, which was just super to see. Now, I get my first invitation last year, which was the year after this big event. And this was where Father Brian Kolodichuk, he had, sent me this real nice looking official letter right there with the blue bars and everything. And going on and on about how, we were pleased to extend this invitation to you. This was last year. And I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, who is this too? I'm not a Mother Teresa expert. I only barely wrote about Mother Teresa in my dissertation. My dissertation was on the historical, from a philosophical perspective, the historical antecedents or concept of depression, the things that kind of preceded. And I have one chapter on Dark Night of the Soul. And in that chapter, I briefly discuss Mother Teresa's condition known as spiritual darkness or what have you. She went through a very profound 50-year darkness. And this was brought to light, no pun intended, in her when her correspondence was published by none other than Father Brian Kolodichuk. This is the book here. You may have seen it on the bookshelf or somewhere in Amazon. You can get this anywhere. It's printed by Doubleday Press. You can see right there, Father Brian Kolodichuk, Missionaries of Charity, priest. Come Be My Light, the private writings of the saint of Calcutta. It's in parentheses because this is before she was canonized. And so this came to be published in around 2007. And prior to this, we kind of had, it was generally unknown to the public, let's say, that she had experienced this utter interior desolation and darkness. And then once this was published in her own words, we got to see how distressed she was interiorly. And that was a really, really big thing. So that became my focus in that area of my dissertation. So again, I get the invitation from Father Brian. I had met Father Brian about a year prior. He came at the invitation of our friars, our Dominican friars, Saints Philip and James in Baltimore. He came to give a talk, one of our Sunday talks and dinners. During this talk, which was wonderful, he was asking the crowd, hey, we're starting this institute if you know of anybody who's ever written. And I'm thinking, well, I've written a little bit, so I'll let him know, give my email address, and then later sent my chapter to him and everything. And so that's how he remembered me, but I never thought, I'd ever be a part of this institute in any fashion. So the last year went, it was not the first annual. The first annual was this year. Last year was more like a brainstorming session. We did hold a colloquium. It was a 3-day event, one colloquium, and then a public lecture on the first day, and then a mass to end things. And then that colloquium was attended by, I think, 4 different priests, and then 2 lay scholars. One was me, and then the other woman was from Australia. So I'm thinking, man, I'm in this company of people who really know what they're talking about. And again, what am I doing here? Towards the end, we had a sort of a discussion panel in which we brainstormed ideas how the institute would go. And at that point, it became more clear to me. I'm like, oh, this thing is getting off the ground, and I'm like part of this. I had no idea, very unwittingly. So this year rolls around, and I was invited back. And of course, I'm thinking, well, I guess I do belong there. They want me back. And I gave another talk both years, last year and this year. I gave a talk on exactly what I wrote about in my dissertation on her darkness. This year, as I said, was the first annual colloquium, the inaugural one. And again, the Mother Teresa Institute is the academic arm of the center. So this is meant to be an academic enterprise. So the way I see it, and I think this is pretty well confirmed by Father Brian and others, that I'm one of the very few academics, relatively speaking, who do academic writing of any sort on Mother Teresa, although very little. And then you have, on the other hand, you have the Missionaries of Charity, the order that she founded, the priests and the sisters, who they don't really do academic writing of any kind. Very few of them do any. As you might have picked up, some of the priests do, but that's about it. So you have this very tiny overlap in which you have academics writing on Mother Teresa on the one hand, and Missionaries of Charity, sisters, and so on, who have they know a lot about Mother Teresa, but they don't really do academic writing. And so where that overlap occurs, that is where the Mother Teresa Institute seeks to stand in that gap and fill that gap and produce really good academic work on Mother Teresa. That's also faithful to her original charism and her original vision for the order. Now, so that's, I believe, why I got picked. And it's such an honor. And it is, the conference was a week and a half ago, and I'm still riding high off of it. It is, in fact, I just met today, about an hour or so ago, with, about an hour or two, with Father Brian over video chat. We were doing a debrief about the conference. We were, since we didn't have that same sort of panel discussion this year in which we threw around ideas and everything, we did that remotely this time. He had his secretary there helping jot down ideas and so on. And we were just kind of debriefing, doing a follow-up interview and all that, and saying how it went and where we could see the Institute going. So just tremendous, tremendous work that it's doing. And for the conference itself, this being the first one that's inaugural, open to the public, and meant to be public facing. It was very well attended by the Missionaries of Charity Sisters. About 25 of them there, Father Brian told me. I believe they're from the communities in Washington, D.C., although they're from everywhere around the world. Some of them from India, some of them are from Africa, some of them are from Latin America, some of them are just American themselves in the United States. And they took out time to not only go to the Thursday night public talk lecture, but open to the public colloquium as well. It was very well attended by them. We are trying to get more students, graduate students, to attend because we know that good research is done by graduate students. So as you're listening to this, watching this, if you know of anybody who even tangentially is interested in any academic pursuits of any kind from Mother Teresa, then reach out about that to either myself or Father Brian. I know he'd love to hear from you. We are trying our best to launch and spread the reach of this institute. As Father Brian said, this is something that he wants to do right and he wants to do well. He says, think about with St. Francis of Assisi. People are still talking about him after 800 plus years or so. And then St. Teresa of Lisieux, yes, people are still talking about her over 125 years after the fact. So it's only been a little over 25 years since Mother Teresa, now St. Teresa of Calcutta, has passed away. But he says, I want this to be the kind of thing where people are still talking about Mother Teresa for years to come. And so it's very, very humbling to be a part of that. And Father Brian even told me himself, he said in our talk just now when we met, I think he sensed that I was being a little too humble, I suppose. And he did say, you don't need to be so humble. You don't say that I don't belong here because you very much fit in, and so that was really nice to hear. So he was a kind man. So it's interesting too, because, the great kind of work the Mother Teresa Institute is doing, and you can see their website, you can see their YouTube channel. Like, as I said, I'll link to these videos, but it's just really cool to be a part of this. I feel as if God kind of, as I tell people, good way to make God laugh is to tell him your plans. And, you might have things planned for your life, and then boom, out of nowhere, he just kind of blindsides you. And now you're doing this other thing, because this is what he wants you to do. And I feel like for me, the Mother Teresa Institute has been that. And I don't know if a better thing it could have been, honestly. I remember Mother Teresa, as I said, when I was younger, and she was always just such a pure soul, such a saint, such a just absolute authority figure when it came to matters of morality and spirituality, and such a role model, someone to look up to and model, emulate. And for me to be involved with her in any way whatsoever, let alone in an official capacity like this has been, by the grace of God, it's just been wonderful. I have nothing to complain about at all. And some great fruit, I have to mention, some great fruit has come about even since, in the week and a half since I gave the talk. I was highlighted on Catholic World Report, I think, Catholic News Agency or something like that, one of the two or both. And I wasn't interviewed. Father Brian was interviewed. There's a reporter that was present during my talk and highlighted basically the topic of my talk. And I all the more of that, I think that's wonderful, because if that's a touch point for people, I know a lot of people suffer from depression, darkness of some kind, if not spiritual darkness, very hard psychological and mental, emotional things that they go through. And if that's a touch point that brings them into conversation with Mother Teresa, and then they get to see that, wow, her suffering was for others. And to know that even though she is just wonderful as she is, it's very saintly, of course, not perfect because she's human, but very saintly, still experience those things. It's been encouraging, right? To know that, wow, she can do it, I can do it. And I think that was really part of the reason why she was given that experience. But yeah, like I said, it's been featured. My talk's been featured in those publications in the news lately. And also, I've even gotten a couple of emails about that already. I had one guy who's an acquisitions editor from a publishing house who wants to talk more about my research in Mother Teresa and stuff. And it's like, what an acquisitions editor is, I had to look this up, is someone who basically seeks out manuscripts and gets them to publish with this press, this house. And so that was cool to see. Like, I don't have a book ready yet, but that would be cool if this turned into a book. Like I said, I've only written a little bit on her. And I just think that's a wonderful gift from God. And even better, I think, is somebody from Michigan reached out to me, said they had seen the video of my talk and had some questions. And I answered what I could, and I directed him to Father Brian. Had some questions about this because he was a pastoral care minister, right? So like a spiritual advisor, spiritual director of some kind, and help people through those spiritual trials. And so he felt so enlivened, so consoled by this thing that he'd been struggling with, and now he saw this talk, and it's borne that fruit only recently as well. And I can't wait to see the kinds of things that it's going to continue to do. Not only just this topic of my own talk, my own discussion, my own research, but just what the whole Mother Teresa Institute is going to do. I'm really, really, really excited about it. And I wish I could tell you more about the stuff that we're planning, but I will say this: next year, I'll be there next year. Hopefully maybe you can make a trip if you're listening to this. And next year is a big year, Father Brian said, because it's the 75th anniversary of the founding of the Missionaries of Charity, the founding of the order. And so that is something they're going to celebrate. And they're looking to bring in, hopefully, some very big names, like even bigger than the ones I mentioned earlier. And if all goes well, if those people accept those invitations, I'll give you a hint. It's not necessarily an academic, but it's somebody who has experience somewhere in their life with Mother Teresa and her work. And if they were to come and give a talk, something along those lines, it would be front page news. Let's just put it that way. So I'm very, very excited about those things. Yeah, so in any case, that is all that I have in terms of debriefing with you guys. I'd love to give you the content of my paper too. Maybe I can reserve a video for that, or maybe you can just go watch the video on Mother Teresa Institute page, give them a like and subscribe as well, and follow them, because they're going to do great work, I know, in the coming years. So if you like this content, please give it a like, give me a subscribe, share if you do feel the spirit moving, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.